This is going to be an experiment. I am publishing an article, and it is based on the UN Office of the Future. What is the UN Office of the Future? Do we throw out the old United Nations? Throw it out completely? Many are saying that we should throw out the UN, and for good reason. But there's also a better reason for defining it differently by just changing the way it operates. Now, there's some specific areas that are obvious, like the Security Council functioning. That has to be changed in a more democratic way. And I'm not going to go into that, solving that problem. I have found in my work at the UN that there is one particular position that doesn't exist in the donor countries. Get this, there is a position at the United Nations where the donor countries do not participate. They do not have a representation. It's very curious how this came about, but all the receiving countries do have a resident coordinator selected by some crazy process, and I believe that's probably where a lot of the graft and corruption takes place in the UN system. So we're going to change the UN system by appointing the civilians in each country, appoint someone to take responsibility for coordinating the information regarding the United Nations. Every country needs to do this because the United Nations, for some reason, have not put a resident coordinator in the donor countries. I don't understand it. It makes no sense to me. And therefore, I assumed the position in Canada of being UN resident coordinator on an interim basis until the Prime Minister appoints a particular one. So my doing this is outside of the rules somewhat. It must be, because I just said I'm going to be that position, and I told all the agencies that I'm going to be doing my best to do that position, and that is to coordinate United Nations activities in Canada. In particular, I was very interested in how they worked with the Indigenous community, and I found it to be faulty. Let's say that. The UN Indigenous Forum doesn't represent any of the chiefs that I've talked with in the last 20 years. So they're talking to some people, for sure, but the ones in America and in the Maya countries, the indigenous people are not being heard, not by any stretch of the imagination. So the UN of the future is going to empower all the countries of the world to have representations in various areas. And in particular, the money system is going to change because we're going to operate through a trust. First of all, the UN Office of the Future will be owned by a trust that is managed by the Wisdom Council, the Women Council that we are putting together at Earthstock is going to define the trust, the different qualities of the trust. We have the rough draft, and we already have a number of elders signed on to it. And that trust could form the basis of our new humanity, by you doing things in the indigenous way, planning for 7 generations, for example. So the UN Office of the Future is going to be governed by a trust of indigenous people. The indigenous people, to participate, are going to transfer their lands into the trust. All the current litigation that they're involved in, and many of it's not moving at all, because that's the way the colonial system works. All current land quarrels will be put into our trust, and our trust will settle the score. We will settle the score. I don't know what the score is. I think it's like 99.9 colonialism is, and 1% indigenous. So it's, to bring that into a different balance shouldn't be too difficult. One of my first strategies is to take the trust, claim the land south of Front Street in Toronto. I already did this, by the way. I filed the forms in conjunction with, and with the support of the guy in charge of the department. We drafted the proposal to contest the ownership of the land south of Front Street. We worked on it, we filed it, and the department rejected it because it wasn't filed properly. Go figure that one out. This is the way they played the game. You know, you signed on the wrong dotted line. Anyway, so that claim, I believe, is still unsettled. I'm not 100% sure. I'm only 99% sure. It may be possible by someone may create an idea that indicates the land south of Front Street is settled territory. I believe it is not. I believe it is worth somewhere upwards of $10 billion, plus or minus, depends how you value some things. CN Tower, for example, is just one of the buildings on our property, and it's worth $1 billion. So that's only one property. You have all the rail lines that go through there. How much money does the federal government owe Toronto for using the rail lines south of Front Street? They're all just on that line south of Front Street, and that's the federal government did whatever they wanted there. They never paid for anything. So this is something that we think could be the first program. Now, do we need any further permissions to do this other than the trust? Because the trust is going to be representing indigenous people from the north, the south, the east, and the west, and the center. So, as it was designed, so there was no dispute as to the integrity of our trust. Our trust was representing all the different tribes, and any tribes that didn't want to do it, there's ways. If you don't want to be part of it, you don't want to be part of it. That's fully understandable. But we are frowning on the position taken by some of the tribes to accept the $1 million a year payoff and not change the system. It's the leaders of the indigenous community are, well, they're splintered, unfortunately. There's nobody that speaks with any authority on behalf of the indigenous people. I've learned that when Chief Crow Dog said, "Nobody speaks for me. I'm the only one who can speak for me." And, there's a couple of people that I authorized, and frankly, Mitch, and this is I'm very proud to say, Crow Dog said he would have me speak for him. He says, "You're the first white man that I would allow to speak." And there was a white woman, too, before you. I forget her name, my God. But being able to speak for Crow Dog, I can only suggest to the other chiefs that it might be good to look at taking all your land claims, putting them into this trust, and you'll manage the trust. So, you're going to be gaining a particular amount of economic power that you never had before, the indigenous people. Because right now, it's divide and conquer, and what we're doing is what Tecumseh did. Tecumseh brought all the chiefs together, and his bringing the chiefs together was how Canada stayed free. So the UN Office of the Future is going to be based upon 7 generational thinking. It's going to, we don't know how the grandmothers are going to take on this responsibility yet. And if they don't, who will? Because there's a vacuum at the top. We can't rely on my limited thinking. So the UN Office of the Future will be organized by United Nations resident coordinators. They will be like the head person in each office. Each country will have an office. And in that office, they will have, using the co-creation wheel as a design model, we will have commissions in each of the 12 areas so that we know that we're covering the whole community, and until someone comes with a better whole world system design, then we'll use this one that was developed with Barbara Marx Hubbard. Saving her color scheme doesn't make sense. Ours has a measure of sense to it. So the UN Office of the Future will be based on the medicine wheels, 3 of them, which is the co-creation wheel, is the sum of 3 medicine wheels. People are not hip to that idea yet. The UN Office of the Future will be the repository for information developed to date on graphene, recognizing that graphene is the newest material, the latest material, strongest material, and it's only 1 molecule thick. This bears deeper thought in every area of society of what does it mean? Because the graphene is a game-changing material that Some reports say by using your mind, you will be able to manipulate the graphene energy out there, which means mental telepathy in a way. It's an astounding idea. I'm not going to go into the potentiality of it, but you can just imagine that by graphene we can, using graphene in other entities, we can control them through our mind. Light switch on, light switch off. It could be a reality. That's too much work. Oh my gosh. Okay. Staying focused. UN Office of the Future. What? It's going to be in all the donor countries. It's going to use a new currency, a digital currency that's going to be named. We haven't named it yet. We're playing with a few. Karma Hub, Karma Coin, might be the one we choose, or it will certainly be one we choose. It may not be exclusively the one we choose. I'm suggesting that we have a different coin for each of the 12 sectors. That may be too complicated. It may be too, I don't know. Will it have one coin, 2 coins, or 12 coins? Tendency for my mind is that we're going to have 12 different coins. And they will be interchangeable at par. There won't be gambling with each one. Is going to, which one is going to be the one we use, unless we do, of course. I like the BTGX. I like the Earth coin. I like the Karma coin. I like the Earth. Did I say Earth coin? There's yet to come out a water coin. Water. Mystery Moto. In September, there will be an event in Japan honoring water. This should be a transformative event. Much like Earthstock is a transformative event, Emoto is going to be a huge global transmutable event. And the UN Office of the Future is going to help make that the biggest it ever could be. I think the United Nations should maybe stay out of it, or the United Nations, we should help us promote it. So that they can certainly value it under a number of the different SDGs that they have identified: above water and below water, clean water. In fact, I think water you will find involved in most of the SDGs at some level. Call it level X. So the next step for the UN Office of the Future is the water event. We need to begin planning to seed the idea of the importance of water beyond the level that we did when we got World Water Day named back in, that was part of the Vision Changer project. We sent a letter to Noel Brown at the United Nations in 19 1991, suggesting we have a World Water Day, and he turned that idea into a reality in Rio that year. Hey, and I proudly say that that's one of my accomplishments. Beyond Earth Day, we participate in Water Day. So it brings to mind, maybe we should have a fire. We have an Earth Day, a Water Day. We should have a fire. You got too many fires. Let's not have a fire day. But we need to wake up humanity faster, is probably what the UN Office of the Future is going to do. We're going to take all those meditation groups to focus. Instead of doing it the way Tony Robbins did with meditation, he saw the importance of meditation, and he gave us an edited version of the real strength of meditation. It was good. Could have been better, Tony. So, the UN Office of the Future is going to shine light on some of the things that are happening around the world. That in the world of spiritual engagement, we have in the Americas a fractured spiritual condition, and it's infected many of the spiritual movements. So we have to be very careful, especially with UFOs in the air. We have to be very careful that humanity doesn't shoot itself in the foot. I think that's our job. Because right now, we're shooting ourselves in the foot.